Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gokhshtein Media Late Night News. My name is Ross Macdonald. We have Akil Patterson with us here today, and thank you for tuning in. We are here from the team at Gokhshtein Media. David Gokhshtein is not on the news tonight. He's actually been suspended for going overtime, unfortunately, last night. He has a lot to say, but he will be back on next week. In the meantime, if you'd like to catch up on news from David, he did publish a book recently. The book is called I Went Jogging Today. It is a 1,028-page book. It has a prologue in there, and all the details are on here. David will be published author now in this book, I Went Jogging Today. So you can tune into that, or you can see him next week back on Late Night News. Akil, over to you for the news.
I swear to God, if he calls me with his 500 rants going, "What is he doing? I didn't write that book." He's now probably going to go write a book. Thank you for giving him that idea. My name is Akil Patterson. Welcome to Late Night News. We all are going to write a book. It'll be called How We Got Here. Let's just get to it. Here are some of the today's and this week's top stories and news. Peter Schiff takes aim at inflation, but still very critical of Bitcoin. Peter Schiff today took aim at U.S. Secretary Powell over the Dow's sudden slurge downhill for the first time since 2020. It is the worst day since 2020. But yet he still refuses to back Bitcoin despite massive inflation. Ross?
How do you feel about a guy that just doesn't make a lot of sense? He's tied to gold. He just loves it, and he just won't see the glass as half full. You get other people like Kevin O'Leary, who you interviewed at Bitcoin 2022 conference. He didn't like Bitcoin years ago. Now he loves it. He absolutely loves it. What's up with Peter Schiff? I don't know. I was saying he's gonna die on the hill, literally.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why somebody would be so adamantly against something. But I was talking to a friend recently today, and I said, there's this new show called Julia. It's a story about Julia Childs. And basically her husband's like, oh my goodness, this thing called the television. That thing's never going to catch on. Peter Schiff, this is your television show. Like, you don't think it's going to catch on, but surely it will. So
just never be the first or the last person in on a good thing. That's all I say about that.
Right on. Next up on our list is once again Moonbirds. I'm talking about this for the third day in a row. But Moonbirds has now set a record. They are just under 38 ETH. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I think some are selling for as much as 138 ETH. So I'm bewildered. I don't know what Moonbirds are. I don't know what they do. And there's a hashtag that I'm starting. Who the fuck is this Frank Rose guy? That's all. I don't know who this is. Who is he? Moonbirds.
I see Moonbirds. I went through the website, and they've cloned what Bored Apes are doing. It's like, exclusive community. We're gonna have events. It's like, okay. So the thing that I think everyone needs to be careful of is this is happening so quickly. Do they have the revenue to pull this off, or do they have that revenue somewhere where they can just walk away with it? You have to be very careful of how NFT projects manage their cash flow and their revenue from the project. So I hope that they actually do something that rivals Bored Apes, because people are so heavily invested in it. But if it doesn't go that way, people should be forewarned. You got to be careful if you're FOMOing into this.
Well, as they say, buyer beware. Just beware.
Yeah.
Be mindful, beware, and try not to hurt yourself
absolutely.
out there, folks.
Yeah.
Well, next up, maybe some brighter news for at least people that are in the Axie Infinity world. $5 million was recovered by Binance of the stolen $622 million. So, I mean, well, I don't know. How happy can you get about $5 million when you're like, so what about my other $617 million?
It's like a thimble in the ocean, but I guess it's something. Or maybe it's a starting point.
Yeah, well, apparently they tried to move the money. And so CZ over at Binance was able to say, okay, guys, we got you.
Nice.
So they seized it one way. But it also leads me to another question.
That they're on top of it.
Yeah, but that's another question. Is it going to be decentralized then if they can capture this? I don't know.
Well, if it's going through Binance wallets, then yeah, it's centralized, of course.
Well then, somebody try not to move your money. Moving on, Stripe is starting with Twitter. Yes, that's right. Stripe has plans to use USDC stablecoin as part of the Polygon network as part of its expansion, and they're going to start with Twitter. I'm kind of happy,
especially on the Polygon network. No gas fees or very low gas fees. That is super, super cool. You can have now a microeconomy within Twitter that functions smoothly, quickly. Love it.
Yeah. Do you know who is the creator of USDC?
Coinbase.
That's right, Coinbase. So with Coinbase being the juggernaut that it is, I really don't understand why people keep saying, because there was an evaluation saying they were going to lose money this year. I don't see how they're losing money.
What?
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to say.
Well, so JP Morgan, so yesterday I reported this with David, JP Morgan came in and said that they were going to have an evaluation of a loss. But yet, I don't see it. I mean, considering this news today.
Unless they're spending in development areas like crazy, hiring thousands of people, opening up offices, maybe they're doing that on purpose. Like, why would they want to take massive profits when they can just continue to push development at an important time? It's actually not a bad move.
Well, I also hear Coinbase is looking into buying some foreign exchanges, but that's not confirmed yet, so I'm going to hold off on that news. Number 5 on the list today was the sanctions in Russia are now threatening a multi-billion-dollar crypto industry. Now, what you might be thinking is yesterday we talked about the Russian-Ukraine fight war. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the sanctions, and effectively what they're doing is there's no on-off ramp for cryptocurrencies and miners. And so the miners are going to be impacted. And that's one reason why the United States right now, in my opinion, has a golden opportunity to actually kind of capitalize on this and make mining-friendly places happen.
Which, as we learned from Kevin O'Leary in Bitcoin 2022 again, he said that the United States is going to have carbon audits on miners for any public company. So if those things can get lined up, and if companies that are mining in Russia have no on and off ramps and they can't pay their electrical bill, they may have to put the brakes on things or move out of there. That's crazy. Can you imagine that? You don't know how long these sanctions are going to go. How long have the other wars been going on in, how long did they go on in Iraq, Afghanistan? Horrific. That's a big business decision for people if they want to move out of Russia. There's some cheap power there.
I mean, I guess there is a lot of cheap power, but I'm not cheap. I got a lot of power. Well, speaking of going green, though, yesterday, right now, the New York Times Square billboards went dark in recognition of Earth Day. The problem was mainstream media once again painted this as a stunt for cryptocurrencies, not fully aware that the cryptocurrency companies that were actually helping support this all have already committed themselves to carbon neutral or no carbon at all. So this kind of irks me a little bit. Yeah, I'm a little irked by it.
That's interesting. Well, what do you think? Why does it irk you?
Well, the reason I'm a little irked by this is like you're literally saying that, you know, they're not doing any research into the companies,
Right?
The Algorands, the VVs, even the Coinbases, that they're all committing to this, which is one reason why everyone's moving to layer 2, right? L2s are becoming big because that's where they say, hey, we'll just be carbon neutral over here and zero carbon at all. But it just becomes frustrating because, once again, they're not doing enough research on the industry to actually make a decision that's informed and to then inform the public. So to say it was a stunt, I don't think so. They did something that no other company was able to do, right? They shut down for a couple hours and just showed a green screen. So props to those companies that are doing the right thing.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? You know, I get it when there's publicity stunts, but at the same time, that's marketing. I love marketing.
Do you love marketing?
I do. I really do.
Well, you know, if we're going to be moving through that one a little quickly, let's talk about something I think, Ross, you might have a lot to say. Crypto giant Celsius might have legal issues as the Cell token may face regulatory risk. Their Earn product might be causing the most significant issues for them because it may be determined that it was an unregistered security.
You know,
seems like we've been here before,
when
Ross.
a token's created and you get to the point later, 3, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and then you're becoming a security, that is horrific. But how do you get that done? You know, US legal opinions, it doesn't really matter. If the SEC wants to target you, there's nothing to stop them from targeting you. The way that regulations are set up, if they want to do it, they'll do it. If they know there's cash, they'll do it. It's like when people in the public and in the States don't have personal liability insurance. You know that you can sue them and it's cheaper for them to pay you than to go to court. So that can happen with companies too in the crypto industry. And if people continue to not allow the SEC, but if they continue to not stand up to them, or even the SEC fined a company a few months ago in the UK and they paid the fine. It's like, what the heck are you doing? Horrific. That frustrates me.
I think, unfortunately, Celsius. So you know what? I just tie this back to the Ripple case, the XRP, the Ripple. It's the same thing, and I think for Celsius, I mean, they've obviously did what they were supposed to. They informed their clientele about the issue. They said that it is now considered a high risk, and that to earn with using the Cell token is now considered high risk. While at the same time, XRP has been fighting the legal battle for what, 4 years? And at this juncture, you know, they're not interested in the settlement, and I see why they're not interested in the settlement, because they're saying, no, you've had your opportunity, you had your moment in the sun. It's time that you actually respond and answer to the communities that have been, you know, supporting these protocols and these projects, and why their money has been either held up or prevented from being great. Their opportunities have been limited. You know, and this is me as a fan of I'm a fan of crypto and blockchain technology. So when you have these individuals and these companies that are trying to build, and then you look back and you see a federal government that is trying to not only stifle the innovation part, but they're trying to stifle the funders and the investors. And you know what? Everyone gets left literally holding bags that they're not sure what they're going to do with them. So.
Yeah, that's true. You know, Celsius, Alex Mashinsky, He's genius. That guy is one of the smartest CEOs out there. And for them to get blindsided by this in this way, I bet you they are not happy. And if they, I would expect them to take a similar approach to Ripple. Like what? Like if you're gonna battle it out, if you're gonna have that discussion, do it, finish it. Don't just settle. Like you want to go to war? Okay, do it.
Well, I want them to go to war. I want them battle ready. I want them to go to war. It's not my money, but I'm just saying I want them battle ready. I want them battle tested. I want these guys. I want them in there swinging and fighting a little bit. Maybe shaking up a couple.
Maybe we should do like. Maybe we should, when they go to court, maybe we should do like an SEC festival right outside. Just have people like occupy Wall Street. It's like, hey, let's occupy the SEC.
I don't know if I want to do that.
You're like, bad idea. Shut up, Rob.
I don't know if I want to do that. It's like, wait a second. I don't want to be sitting out there. If it's a hot day, then you got to sit out there. You got to be around a bunch of stinky people. If it's a cold day, you got to find the right jackets. You're just miserable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. Listen,
the glass is half empty. Oh, no.
No, I've been an activist before. Listen, man, you know I've been an activist and done a lot of weird stuff. And so I'm just telling you from experience, you don't want to have to go do those things. Been there, done that,
Right.
got the t-shirt to prove it.
Yeah, that's true.
Next up, there is a easy way to invest, but the problem is, are the easy ways the best ways? Crypto indexes have been gaining traction over the last 2 years, but have they become actual profitable? Data is actually showing that it is not profitable to be in indexes. And I actually am in a couple indexes myself, but most of them are, most of them are.
So you're in the metaverse index. What else is there?
That's it. That's what I'm in. I'm in the metaverse index.
That's what you're in. So
Yeah.
I like that concept. I like the ability for people. Like there are people who they don't have the time and they don't have the energy to research crypto and invest in it. And what I say to them is, buy into a public stock that's tied to crypto, like Hut 8 mining or something like that. Tie into things like that actually follow the price of Bitcoin, and pans out pretty well for people. But an index, I don't know, that's different, because now you have to say, okay, who picked the index? How did they pick the index? And how will they make changes to the index as the market changes? Those are the questions I would ask.
Yeah, and I don't think there's actually an index website, Index Scoop, and I've gone to that a couple times, and that's where I found out that's where I did a lot of the work behind the scenes when I was looking at several cryptocurrencies that I'm a fan of, and just also studying them and figuring out what was good and what was not. And when I found out about that when the Sand Hill Road people were into the Metaverse Index, that's when I jumped into that. But even now, it's like I'm not really making any money. So it's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone up. But
Maybe we should write some articles about that. We'll fire that off to our team. I love that. We have a discussion, we pop up a topic, let our team dig into it, and let our team share the fine details with our viewers.
With fine details. Hey, you said you had some stuff on Earth Day here. What do you got going on there?
I was just referring back to we keep bringing him up, but when Kevin O'Leary was doing his presentation at Bitcoin 2022, and he said that he had 5 vectors related to Bitcoin and upcoming regulations. And one of those things was that regulators are going to definitely go after public companies and require carbon audits from them. Now, the one difficulty that he brought up was that auditors of these carbon audits who sign off on it, there's a wide range of data on this. It's very hard to nail it down and to be accurate with these when you're actually measuring how much carbon that you're using from a Bitcoin mining facility, for example, or if you're buying credits and you're applying those. So auditors do not like to sign off on those, because if they're wrong, the SEC and other organizations are going to hold those auditors accountable for signing off on that. But if you are a Bitcoin mining facility, or mining in general in crypto, or any public company in that sector, and you do fall under having to aim to be carbon neutral or to pay taxes towards that, and you're using renewable energy, you're using hydro, nuclear, wind, solar, and that can take up a large percentage or even all of what you're doing, you're not going to have to go through that audit if you're on renewable energy. So seeing as it's Earth Day, that is something that these companies who are just starting up now or are using a small percentage of renewable energy, if they can increase that to be something much larger, they're going to win. The companies that are operating off of natural gas and straight off electricity grid on contracts for lower rates, they're going to get nailed.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so pretty interesting stuff.
Man, well, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff, and I'm glad you, man. That is kind of that's deep. You went deep on me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's regulation, and you know, who reads these documents? They're not as long as regular political documents. You've seen those. You've had to comb through those. Those are nasty.
All sometimes 800, sometimes 1200, sometimes 2 pages.
Pages? 800, 1200? That's binders and binders of pages.
Yeah, that's
that makes no sense. And nobody reads them. And I know that there's people that have the job where their job is to summarize that. It's like, what?
Yes.
Why did you write it so long? You know what? I bet David could write political papers. He knows how to talk.
I'm sure David could write some political papers. And speaking of regulations, as we go abroad a little bit, Australia has promised by 2025 it will actually have its own regulation committed to cryptocurrency.
2025, 3 years.
3 years.
and a half.
3 years.
Or by the beginning. Could be even less. Wow.
Well, it's by 2025, so yeah, it could be 2024 technically if they can drop on whenever. But you know, hopefully, folks there are getting their cold storage wallets or their ledgers, and you know they're pulling it off of the exchanges, and they're going to wait to see what happens. For me, with the regulation, go ahead.
It's not going to be something that they do it and it's done, like the Constitution. It's going to be, we write it and they're really like, oh crap, we got to adjust this because we don't know what we're talking about. But that's where you start. Yeah, that's where you start.
You've got to start somewhere, that is for sure. But it's when these regulations, I mean, again, I think they're becoming a little bit cumbersome because they're not, I mean, in most countries, the leadership is much older. I mean, well, at least here for me.
Much older. Much older. Most of the countries, they should be playing shuffleboard in the retirement center. It's brutal.
I think honestly, as the politicians, you know, you've got to. Wasn't the point to retire at some point from working?
Yeah.
I thought that was the point. Like, hey, I'm good. You take over. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna fish.
That's how we think.
Yeah, because you and I are like normal humans. Like, no, I don't want to work every day. I'd rather go fish outside or go, you know, driving around on my Jeep or something. Or, you know, I'm sure you race some cars or motorcycles back in your day, Ross. But either way,
people get older and they get the option of having power and being office and continue to decide what regulations going to be out there. That is a modern day drug that they love. Right?
Yeah, it is definitely.
They're going to need some help from people. They're going to need some help from the thought leaders in our industry to set these regulations. I hope that's what happens. But to be honest, I don't see it happening.
Well, when it comes down to this week, that actually wraps up all the news that I have for everybody. And I'm actually really excited because Unlike David, we will not be sitting here for an extra 25 minutes telling you about all the terrible things that each one of us will be getting into today, and why our bunions hurt, and how far we ran. We have to mention, he did work out today. So if you didn't know, DG worked out.
He did. I heard that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Akil, thanks for hosting.
As always. And hey, everybody. I'm sorry, because now I can think of is me being Mr. Rogers.
I like it. Do it.
Thanks for joining us here at Late Night News at Gokhshtein Media. I'm one of your hosts, Akil Patterson, with Ross Macdonald, and David Gokhshtein is still on suspension. Have a great day and an even better tomorrow.